In Britain, the Brexit clock is ticking and the predictions about what life might be like outside the European Union are becoming more alarming. The Trade Secretary is predicting there's now an odds-on chance that the UK will crash out of the EU with no deal at all. And that's leading to talk of food shortages and the army being put on standby. Europe correspondent Lisa Miller reports that businesses trying to plan ahead are preparing for a rocky road.
The British love a good stroll down memory lane.
Let's do the rock and roll
Don't worry about mentioning the war here. That's what this reenactment festival in southern England is all about. A chance to honour the older generations that kept the home front safe.
But my grandfather was actually in the unit that I represent. If the Nazis had ever invaded, I'm sure he would have done his country proud.
70 years later, Britons once again feel under attack. And this time are hell-bent on repelling Europe from their shores.
We'll have a normal parade and then we'll get into the shade.
It might look more like Dad's army, but Bradley Cooper is deadly serious.
Tug of war, yep. Anyone else in the tug of war?
He wants to make sure Britain's history isn't forgotten.
As we go into those times of change again once more, we'll see how things end up. Hopefully an event like this brings us together as those dark days did.
Today's Britain is a divided country, and the impending exit from the European Union will have an impact on the generations to come. They just can't agree on whether it will be good or bad.
Thank you very much.
The Leavers and the Remainers are at loggerheads about how it's even going to happen.
Because I work in education, there's a lot of challenges within that. There's going to be a lot of, hopefully there could be potentially saying there's going to be money coming in, and we're like, well, where? Show us how you're going to do it.
How does the UK fix this?
Accept that we are going to have a Brexit. There is no possibility of having a soft Brexit. It's going to happen.
On the 29th of March next year, Britain will leave the European Union. But the negotiations have gone so badly, the alarms are sounding.
I think there's frustration across the board. There's frustration with disagreements between politicians. There's frustration with the pace of the negotiations, which, of course, is then due to not just the UK, but also the EU's approach to it.
Anastasia Belyakova is the head of trade policy at the British Chambers of Commerce. The warnings from business have been dire. The uncertainty is killing any optimism about the future, and the threat that Britain could simply crash out of the EU with no deal in place is now more likely than not.
If businesses need to prepare for potential changes, they need to know exactly what is going to happen. They need to know how long it's going to take. They need to consider how much stock they need to have. All of this has significant cost implications, as you can imagine.
Back in 2000, blockades led to a petrol shortage that emptied shelves and crippled the country. No one wants a repeat of that, but the suggestion that a no deal is odds on comes from the very top of the government. And there was panic when the new Brexit minister told businesses to stockpile food and medicine. And not to worry, the military would be put on standby.
50 pence a pound for your carrots now, 50 pence a pound.
Britain currently gets 40% of its food from Europe.
So the worst case is that they can't get into the UK because a no-deal Brexit means that the ports are blocked. They mean that there's chaos around the ports, and the road freight industry reckons that within about 6 hours of a no-deal Brexit, with customs posts, tariffs, new checks on animal and plant health, you could have tailbacks lasting days, if not weeks.
Ian Wright is the head of the Food and Drink Federation.
For UK shoppers and consumers, the shock of choice being eroded on their shelves is going to be pretty significant. Now, we're not going to run out of food. We are not going to go hungry. But we are going to see, if there is a hard Brexit, a no-deal Brexit, we are going to see a real erosion of choice on the shelves and in our restaurants very quickly.
They call Kent the Garden of England. So much fruit and so little time to pick it.
So how's the fruit today?
Alistair Brooks relies on migrant workers during the season.
Do you have any English stuff?
Well, one. So we have one. Not 1%, just one. Yeah.
The rest are from Romania and Bulgaria. It's already hard enough getting staff because the economy across Europe has improved so much. Now they don't know whether they'll be allowed back in for next year's season or if they'll even want to come.
It's very damaging and very debilitating. And then, you know, you put on top of that a weak government without a majority, and actually that makes it very difficult for us to plan ahead. So how does that translate in our business? We've been growing at around 15 to 20% a year every year for the last 10 years, and we don't plan to grow at all next year.
He's frustrated with Theresa May, but knows the EU was never going to make it easy. Right now, his staff are the priority.
They need some certainty. We need some certainty.
Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile.
If they could turn back time, most people tell us they wouldn't change their vote. They were either out or in, and their views haven't altered. What unifies them now is dismay at the process.
People go on about Donald Trump, but if we had somebody like him, as I've said before, in charge of negotiations, I'm sure by now it would be sorted.
What's the use of worrying? It never was worthwhile.
Brexit was meant to usher in a new era for a nation not known for making radical decisions. But simply getting to the start line is crippling the country with uncertainty. It was never going to be easy. Most here are just hoping the turmoil gives way to triumph.
You know, the way Britain has grown up over the years, countries have different values and things, and so sometimes you need that individuality, and so hopefully we can be Great Britain again.
So pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile.